Oh no. Just a moment, folks. It's a live show. Okay. Hi, welcome. I'm Jamie. Welcome to today's Bonsai log. Got here a Fuji Cherry that I picked up earlier this spring. My local club, the Rocky Mountain Bonsai Society, is doing a challenge this year. We had a $100 budget to go pick up some nursery stock, and we're gonna see, who has the best tree in the fall. Now, our main condition was that there was to be no repotting, so you may see that there's some lava in here. I did expose the Novari and then just kind of worked that into the top layer. And then a while ago, I did just some pruning on my sacrifice trunk here and tried to wire it up out of the way, and did some initial movement on this trunk. Now, for now, I am going to continue to develop this really tall thing, but it's not at all a part of my design. In fact, one of my goals is going to be clipping off all of the side growth that is coming off of this trunk. Because it's my sacrifice branch trunk, yes, I want it to go crazy, but really I want to push as much vertical growth as I can, because that's going to help thicken things. Now I am leaving some space in my node there, so I'm not getting worried about dieback. But really, that's all I'm going to do on the sacrifice trunk. Before I really start game planning with the trunk that is being developed, I'm going to go ahead and get this wire off. Now, I did leave it on longer than you typically would for deciduous, but I was kind of experimenting with bark damage. Just, I like the look of twisted, kind of haggard prunus. So I figured I'd just kind of play around a little bit. And let it get kind of haggard and beat up. But I mean, it is a sacrifice trunk, so ultimately if it looks hideous, it's going away at some point anyways. Imagine it might be another year or two though, because it's really going to help thicken the base of this little fella. And hey, I see somebody's joined the chat. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'm just gonna be tackling this little tree here. Hope you're having a good summer day. It is hot. Okay. Turn this around. Now, cherries in general, or I guess prunus, are something I hope to get pretty good with. They're not too popular in my local region, so I've kind of just been looking for every little specimen I can get my hands on, from a bunch of different types, actually. But my teacher mostly does the conifers, so this has really been my own tinkering, not so much being guided. I do have an old International Bonsai magazine, with some really good information on prunus, and specifically ume. I can't think what issue it is off the top of my head, but I feel like I've done pretty well over the last few years, just kind of using that article as a guide. Though there was a little tweaking of the dates based off of, seasonal signs. It's more or less spot on. Okay, just about done with this old lot. This section at least. Okay, come around to here. Ultimately, I think I want this to be kind of a long, graceful trunk coming out of the bottom here. So I don't know how much of this branching is going to be kept long term, but until I remove the sacrifice trunk, I am going to cultivate these branching, this stuff, just to keep things nice and vigorous. It'll ultimately really help or be helpful when it's time to make that cut. A good rule of thumb with most deciduous is about 6 to 8 weeks. From when you wire, you need to get that off. I think this has been on closer to 10 weeks, but again, that's because I was kind of intentionally damaging the bark here, because I like that in cherries. So I went to Michigan this past weekend to go interview Carmen Leskoviansky. That was a blast. Did get a little bit of a surprise when I got there. Apparently the university that owns the Botanic Garden needs to sign off on releasing the footage out there, so it might be a little bit. I'm not expecting them to get back to me right away in the middle of summer. I imagine that office is pretty empty. But I will be releasing more footage from the Art of Bonsai show, which was held at the Hidden Lake Botanic Garden in Tipton, Michigan. I had a lot of fun getting down there. Yeah. Those are sharp. Nicked myself with the wire cutters. They must be fed. Yeah. And cool. So, moving on to this little cluster, I'm going to start my scissors and take out the obviously flawed stuff. So, this growing off the bottom. Notch growth. That was allowed to die back. Let's spin this a bit. Just weak interior stuff. Weak interior shoot. Weak interior shoot. Yeah. But yeah, Michigan was a lot of fun. Got to see a lot of the state, which I was excited for. And my partner and I got a head start on looking at housing for when we move out there in 90 days. It's very scary to be leaving Colorado and trying to stay working in bonsai. Like I'm just so dependent on my local community, and you know, it sucks saying goodbye to everybody, and it sucks having to start at square one, kind of getting back into things after the move. That's okay. It'll be fine. Okay. Still just coming through, finding my crotch growth and anything growing off the bottom of branches. Weak interior shoots. I want to see what things look like after all that is dealt with before I go doing too much cutting. No, that's just a jinky fork, okay. So get that one out. Weak interior growth. Cool. Ah. Oh, you might be good to cut back too. I'll leave you for now. Interior growth. And then you're punching. Going out the middle. Okay. So that's the first pass here. I feel like I've got a good amount of foliage, so I'm still going to come through and prune back. I'm going to be thinking about building taper, as well as getting good forking going on. So, take you out. You out. You're growing off the bottom. So down on this branch, I'm going to count till I have 2 sets of leaves. Sorry, 2 leaves, and cut there. Start reducing the size of these branching. Maybe that shit's just gonna go. And then we got 1, 2, 3. Okay. That's growing off the bottom. That's growing off the bottom. That out. Let's see. 2 leaves. 2 leaves. 2 leaves. And when I'm making these cuts, I am cutting pretty close to the previous internode. That's so that I can have some space to dye back. And before I'm done today, I'm going to make sure that I apply some cut paste because prunus species are pretty prone to fungal issues. That'll just help prevent any vectors for disease to enter. Okay, that's looking good. This can just go. Okay. Back to here. Boop. Going off the bottom. Two. 2. Yeah, so this was growing some fruit earlier in this season, but I'm inclined to blame either squirrels or birds because they disappeared maybe 2-3 weeks ago. They weren't quite ready yet, but it's kind of hopeful I'd get to see them. I know the squirrels really love going after the plums that grow on my ume, so I've quit letting those grow. Even though I really like the idea of being able to harvest seeds, but that's okay. So this is going to be my next branch. This is looking like it's been chewed on a bit by pests, and I just want to call attention to that. I might leave this untouched, and I'm definitely making a mental note to myself to spray a little more frequently. But I don't want to throw off the vigor of that branch, so I'm just going to come to here, some crotch growth, up to 2 leaves, 2, 2, 2. Okay, it's feeling good. So ultimately, sorry, I'm not looking at this big tall trunk. Ignore that. But I'm a big fan of this line. So I think this branch has to go. And we'll open that up. See what we can do with this funkiness. So for that cut, just going to use my concave cutters. And I'm going to make sure I leave space for dieback. And that needs to be touched with some cut paste before I'm done today. Later on, after it has died back, I can bring this in closer to the branch that's going to heal over that wound. But for now, we don't want to take it too close. Just going to continue on pruning. Okay. Now I really want to think about where am I taking this? So that's going to affect my pruning choices. Whatever I'm going to call the leader, I'm going to leave nice and long. Let's see what I'm going to do. Coming back to the scissors. Take that out. So, go. My wire. Second. I need to got it. The joy, right? So I'm gonna start out by partially wiring this branch all the way down here. So I need about yay much. As I'm coming through, one of the things I'm thinking about is which way I need my branches to go. I'm gonna just kind of weave in here. So I'm getting just a turn and a half going up into the higher up branch with my wire. That's so that things really lock in and stabilize. So that when I come down here, I can loop in. And I'm going to wrap this, what is that, clockwise. So that we can get some upward movement in this. I'm just using my offhand to gently move some branching and foliage out of the way so that I can wire fully to here. I'm gonna get my little twist on. Oop, darn. Okay, gonna stop that right there. And that's gonna need cut paste before we're done. Okay. Now I'm just gonna come up a turn and a half on the actual secondary trunk here. And I'm going to position it so that this downward bit of wire is coming down on the back of the branch so that when I come through with my wire cutters here, there's no visible mark. Like you don't see the cut of the wire, it's hidden from view. But this is also braced so that I can come back through and marry this branch with its sibling. See, those are maybe 8 inches each, so there-ish. I get my turn and a half following the existing wire. My support. It's going to prevent that seesaw action. And now I can come and hit this yellow wire. And I'm continuing to wire in a clockwise fashion so that we get upwards directionality. I'm gonna get some preliminary kinks in this, get about where I need it to be. Come back. Finish this other branch. One thing I'm trying to do as I get this wire on is twist this branch around a little bit so that one of these shoots is going to be positioned on, I guess, the outside of a curve I'm forcing into it. Okay, come back. Channel here. You. There. Okay. And step that. And I'm putting here. Okay, so it's a bit preliminary, but there's really not a lot to do on this tree. But here's where we're at with the structure that's been set so far. And I think ultimately, apex, or the next section of trunk, is coming out this way. So we're gonna bring this in, or out maybe. Nope. Should come that way. Okay. Let's see. I don't think I can get away with trying to bend this main trunk at this time of year. Just kind of playing with it. It feels like it's gonna snap, so I'm gonna trust my gut here and just move on to the next bit of branching. Now that is one thing I have really learned with the prunus, is that they don't want to snap. They will, and I should be grateful that I was here for it, you know? Being a little tongue-in-cheek, but I'm definitely moving down to the 1.5 thus. Making sure I don't snip my finger again. To the front, and still just trying to twist it up, contort it as I go. Just kind of trying to embrace the growth habit of the Kojo no Mai here. It's very zigzaggy. And I'm just trying to make that more pronounced and really play that up and turn it into more micro movement. Spin that around in just a moment so y'all can see. So it's like the nodes kind of zigzag away from each other. And I've just kind of played up that movement. So overall, it's not a big change, or maybe it's kind of actually really drastic, but it's because it's more few smaller bends getting combined into now. This is not at all the one I started with, but when I first got into bonsai, I actually picked up another one of these Kojo no Mai, and it was quite possibly the first tree to die in my care. Like it was dead within a week of coming in the mail, unfortunately. But I like to think I've come a long ways since then, and that was actually kind of a big part of my decision-making process with trying to choose Kojo no Mai for this club challenge. up. Okay, bam. Is that a hair more? And then you've got to come down a bit. There. Bring you scotch forward. Sorry, don't mind me just kind of tweaking, taking a look at where things are at. Now I've really just got this last section here. So, So instead of wrapping down the trunk, I actually just wrapped around where we removed the one branch a little bit ago, the codominant leader. Using that little stub that we kept for dieback, or so that we don't get dieback in the trunk. And that way I don't have more wire than is necessary running all over the tree. It's one of those things where if we can avoid it, we like to. And then, gotta be. So I'm gonna stop that wire there, but because this is what I'm building my next section of trunk out of, and I'm going for that nice literati look down the road, I do want to get some crazy movement in here. And with prunus, that's going to be easiest while the shoots are still young. So I'm splicing in to my thicker gauge wire here. And then at this junction where the end of my thicker gauge wire is, I'm actually kind of like wrapping that nicely. And this is really the new shoulder. So up until that point, I'm kind of stuck with what the thick wire will do. But from here on, I can get a little more finesse using the thinner wire. Got all the way up to the crown. Kick that over. A little hockey puck type deal. And I'm gonna just bend this down so it looks a little nicer. And prune. Okay. So coming back to my front here. Sorry, I know I can see this, you guys can't. But now that I've got my wire on, I can play with this a bit. And I really want to just get some crazy twists in here. I just love how that looks on cherries. So got that, and then straighten it out a bit and exaggerate some of those curves at random. But I want that shoot pointed straight up, because that's going to help get momentum going back in. And then coming back to it, this isn't in quite the right spot. So right now. Gotta wire these two. Oh. There we go. There we go. Yes, we do. That's all right. One of the things that I've really been working on the last year is not using any more wire than is necessary. It's one of those things that's just much easier said than done, and you kind of just have to keep practicing at it until you get it. That's okay. Snap that. Snap that. You guys see where we're at real quick. Just got that on. I want generally upward movement with pronus. You more in your own space. You can come a little more forward. Oh, no, that's all wrong. That needs to be more up. So that needs to be more up. And really, I'm just kind of trusting my eye here, having learned what these are supposed to look like. Most deciduous should have a bit of an upwards growth habit. It's not like conifers where you look at what would this look like under a snow load. Okay. So I'm gonna do some more cleanup on my sacrifice trunk here. I am a-okay with this having some dieback, as long as crown stays vigorous. Ultimately, this big trunk has nothing to do with the final path of this tree, other than helping make the base of the trunk, this trunk, be thicker. The longer we let this grow, the more it's going to cause things to swell down here. I'm not quite sure what kind of timeline I'm going to commit to on this, but you'll see. Half the fun in bonsai is the journey, right? Anyways, I'm going to call it here for the day. Thank you for hanging out with me and working on this tree. Hope you found some peace, maybe learned something. Have a good one.